Let's talk about observational studies. How do we determine if regularly getting a tan at a tanning salon increases the risk of skin cancer? We could randomly assign subjects to a control group or an experimental group. The people in the control group don't go to a tanning salon, and the people in the experimental group do go to a tanning salon a certain number of times each year. Then after so many years, we compare the groups and see which group has more skin cancer. No, you can't do that! That's completely unethical. You can't take some people and expose them to this carcinogen, namely tanning beds. You just can't do that. When an experiment would be unethical or impractical, sometimes we can do an observational study. The researcher does not control the independent variable. Instead, the researcher observes what happened in the past, that's a retrospective study, or what will happen in the future, that's a prospective study. For example, here's an early and interesting example of a retrospective study on cancer. This is how to study cancer. Janet Lane Clapon collected information from 500 women who had breast cancer and 500 women who did not have breast cancer. This is about a century ago. She found some interesting connections. The women who were less likely to have breast cancer had their children when they were younger and breastfed their children longer. Very unusual. Here's an example of a prospective study. The Grant study, which began in 1938, followed 268 Harvard undergraduate men for 75 years. I read about this in the Atlantic Monthly a few years ago. Among the findings, late in their professional lives, the men's boyhood relationships with their mothers, but not with their fathers, were associated with effectiveness at work. On the other hand, warm childhood relations with fathers correlated with lower rates of adult anxiety, greater enjoyment of vacations, and increased life satisfaction at age 75. Whereas the warmth of childhood relationships with mothers had no significant bearing on life satisfaction at age 75. Now, I just took those quotes directly from the story. Sometimes we will match participants in observational studies. Here's why. Suppose we want to study the influence of having a home computer on grades. We could show that kids with home computers tend to do better. But that does not mean they do better because of the computers. Again, correlation does not imply causation. They might be doing better because their family has more money, which enables them to buy computers and tutors and homes and neighborhoods with better schools, etc. So it's not that, yes, kids with computers do better in school, but it's not the computers that are enabling them to do better in school. So one way to avoid having money as a lurking variable, match participants based on income. Match a kid with a home computer with another kid in the same income bracket who does not have a home computer, and then see who does better.